here we are. We are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And thank you for joining us tonight. And anybody in the replay, this is kind of like a little shoot off from Spiritual Awakening Talking Stories, my little podcast that you can find here on Facebook and on YouTube. And Cindy Weston is my guest tonight, my dear friend, psychic medium Cindy Weston. And done a lot of spiritual growth together, haven't we, Cindy?
Oh my goodness, we have.
I
For a
mean,
long time.
yeah. If we had to figure out how many hours that we have each put into our spiritual growth and development in the last, let's see, I'd say like since 2016, like we've hit it so hard that there's probably no way that we could.
Thousands.
Yeah. But you know what? It's been amazing, and I wouldn't change it for anything. Like it's the best. So
It's been a great journey.
it has, and you know what? The best thing is it never ends. So that's the beautiful thing about the spiritual journey. So I just want to say, Cindy, if you want to share this anywhere, there's a link up top, and we could share it to our groups right now if you wanted to on Facebook. And I'm going to open that now, and I'm going to
let you do it, but do it to the angels and saints.
Okay, let me do that. And I won't be able to see myself while I'm doing this, so I'm just concentrating here. And
Okay.
Guided by angels and saints. And so Cindy and I have some groups that we've started, and one of them that we co-admin is Guided by Angels and Saints in all things spiritual. So you're welcome to join that group, which I'm posting this link right now where we're live. So people in this group can see us. And I'm also going to post this in my Facebook group, which is Reverend Melissa Kennedy live readings and events. And you're also welcome to join that. So that's what I'm going to post that. Click that link in there. And I should have been doing this all along, but I didn't. So.
And if anybody wants to share it out too, please do.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're making me having to. It's just like all this technical stuff for us, and they're making me copy it again. I don't know why.
I'm glad you're the one doing it.
Oh, go ahead. You can talk. But I'm just gonna. What I just want to say is why we've come on here tonight is we have some topics that we want to talk about, and we have some things to share. So.
Well, let me just start while you're doing that.
Okay.
Let's talk about allowing yourself some grace. I have a lot going on in my personal life, and sometimes I don't find enough time for spiritual time to grow. I mean, some days I'm just, clearing and grounding myself just to hold my own. And some days I actually get to spend time doing spiritual things. But like today, I had a lot of personal things going on, and I just, had to take a deep breath and just allow myself some grace for being, in a human body. And of course, Melissa gave me a lift and called in some angels for assistance, and that's awesome. And I feel better, but I just, want to talk to people about when you're doing your best, you have to just allow yourself some grace. We all make mistakes. We all have things that hold us back, and we just have to say, look, I'm doing my best. I'm just going to allow myself some grace.
Yeah.
And that's an important part of feeling good in your own skin and feeling confident. It's just a part of, being here and experiencing this, what we are experiencing here on this big rock.
Right.
So.
agree. I agree. And I think that part of this spiritual journey that we've been on, together for those many years that we, started this, I feel like we have learned so much about ourselves. So a lot of this, we had to shed some things that really weren't us, like things that were like implanted in our conscious mind from a very early age. And we had to come out of that wilderness of programming. And I am just so thankful that I had you to share it with, because we had very similar upbringings, very religious, very kind of strict upbringing. And we were always taught to like be excellent in everything that we do. And so that's where the grace comes in, to just give yourself that and say, I'm doing the best I can do. I feel swamped, and just say, I should feel swamped. I'm doing a lot, probably doing more than most people right now. And I really am going to love myself through it. I'm going to give myself some time. I'm going to meditate, whatever it is that gets us into that state of grace within our own being, And the people that listen to this in the future, Cindy, I want you to share, like, who would be who would you call on for your top ascended master, your guide, for that feeling of that unconditional love and to get you back into that state of grace?
Typically, I either pray, which I do a lot of, or I would call Archangel Gabriel. I'm very close with Archangel Gabriel, and I just ask, that maybe he would sit beside me while I pray and ask for forgiveness or whatever it is. A lot of times, it just depends on what's going on. I'll give you a good example of someone that should be allowing themselves some grace, and that is, I have a cousin, and he was had this dog he'd had for a good while, and he was riding his horses and his son's horses that evening just for exercise, and the dog had a way of like getting in the middle of things, so he tied him up, and he forgot about the dog whenever he put the horses up. Went to sleep. When his boys got up to feed the next morning, the dog wasn't there. Go out, and the dog had fought to get loose and had accidentally strangled himself.
Oh my gosh.
My cousin felt so bad.
Yeah.
And I just, I sent him a lot of love and just, about allowing himself some grace.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do that intentionally.
No.
And when he tied the dog up, it was with the best intention for the safety of the horses. And,
Mm-hmm.
where we're going with this, but he just feels that guilt and that shame for letting something so easily resolve. He lost his dog over it. And so that's the thing I would say to him is just allow yourself some grace.
Right. Be kind to yourself, forgive yourself. We all do make mistakes, and the more we hold ourselves in that feeling of like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I did that, and we beat ourselves up, we just dim ourselves down that much more.
Right.
And I feel like it's so easy to do that. And I feel like with our spiritual growth and our practice in mindfulness and also meditation and connecting with the angels and God, that it brings us into that awareness, so that when we get into those feelings, we taught ourselves to not stay in them. So it's okay to feel them. Like, we're supposed to feel every emotion that we have here, on earth. We're supposed to feel emotions, but we're not supposed to wear them like an old coat and continue to wear them and let them weigh us down. Right. So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
absolutely.
yep.
Do you remember years ago when we first, when we first started out, we were listening to Dr. Deb.
Yes.
And she started talking about how words matter.
Yes.
And so when you've done something like this and you're thinking about allowing yourself some grace, you also have to like forgive yourself and realize that by addressing this, and you said it was okay. It is okay to make a mistake. It is, it's part of who we are.
Mhm.
But, finding the forgiveness and the grace to move past it.
Mhm.
Now, what happens when it keeps coming back? What do you do, Melissa?
What do I?
Something that you thought you dealt with, like something you did when you were a child, you
Mhm.
felt guilty about it,
Mhm.
and it still kind of bothers you, and
Mhm.
you've tried to release it and it keeps coming back. What does that mean?
Okay, so it's kind of twofold. So what I've learned to do, what I learned was I am to look at that part of my life as my adult self looking at that precious child that did that, that had no idea. And what would I say as an adult if that was my granddaughter or my child if they were still small? I would look at them with compassion and love and forgiveness and the beauty of their smallness and their learning of things, right? And so when we look at ourselves through the eyes of a child, kind of, but as an adult and kind of connect with ourselves back then, we can then send that aspect of ourselves so much love. So we send the love that we knew we should have gave ourselves at that time, we send it now to that part of our life, and we send healing to that. It actually heals us more in the now. That's something I learned to do.
That's awesome. That's what I do too. Is I talk to my my child self,
Yep.
and try to send love. But sometimes it's not, that big a deal, but it still kind of bothers me, and I'll be thinking about something and it'll trigger that. And I just say, thank you for coming.
Hmm.
I release you.
Yeah.
I forgive myself and I release you.
Yep.
Because I no longer hold the guilt, but maybe the memory comes back.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not to trigger me, maybe, but I just say thank you for showing up and reminding me I'm letting you go.
Hmm. Hmm. And I've also found, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Cindy, because when you open up to all of these shadow aspects of your being, and all these things that you learn, it's kind of like you'll be in the now moment and you'll think, I'm fine, I'm good, like I'm strong, I feel really good. And then, like you said, a memory will come back and it will be so what you're kind of experiencing in your life right now. And what dawned on me was when these things started to bubble up, I realized what I did was I never experienced the emotion or the lesson
Mm.
fully when it was taking place because I didn't have time or taught I wasn't supposed to, or, all of those things. Like, you keep going, but I found out that I was experiencing a lot of those things like in my now life, in these moments of things that I'm actually living now. And I was called to pay attention to that and then give myself the license to experience what I'm experiencing now that's heavy. Like you said, like you're going through a lot right now, in your life. And you're experiencing like your parents have health issues, and then we have children, and then we have grandchildren. So, the thing that's come to me lately is, and something that we need to give ourselves grace for, is we thought, I don't know about you, I'm going to speak for me. I thought that at this age, my life would slow down. But as it turns out, it's busier now than when my kids were younger.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding out too.
Hmm.
Surprise, surprise.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So all of this, like giving ourselves grace for, the things that we absolutely have no control over. And if we're getting into those negative thought patterns, if we find that we're beating ourselves up like, oh, darn it, how could I have forgot that? Like that story you shared. And I can't even imagine like how he felt. I know how I would have felt. And that would continue, because you have a bond. You were trying to keep everybody safe, and then as a result of you trying to keep everybody safe, his dog
Something
is
happened.
no longer
Yeah.
with him. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned these negative thoughts. I also feel like I work on my limiting beliefs. I try not to say I don't, I can't,
Mhm.
those kind of words I try not to use. And if I do, I try to cancel them as quickly as I say them,
Yep.
or as soon as I remember, because it really is training with your mind and your body,
Yep.
just like you would be training for a race or whatever. It really is training. You have to work on
Yep.
not saying those types of words like I hate my body, and I don't, Hansel.
Hmm.
Those kind of things where you're hard on yourself,
Yep.
and it works against your self-esteem and just all kinds of things. And so I try not to use those phrases at any time.
Right.
I really have tried to work on that.
Yeah.
I
So,
can't.
yeah.
And I change them around to I can, I want to, whatever I can replace that with.
Right. Right. And I have to say, here's the thing. Um, Nobody is perfect. So being spiritual doesn't mean you're perfect. And we're gonna have these things come up again and again because there's always something that we need to learn, or we're gonna get tested on this, and we're gonna have to really rise to the occasion. And if someone triggers us, or we're falling into the same patterns with the people that are in our lives, we're gonna get triggered. We're gonna have those moments, but then we can say, oh, God, angels, universe, I'm sorry. I got angry with you, with myself, with the people around me. Please forgive me. Just ask for forgiveness, and you're done. It's gone. It's no longer there. So not only have you asked for forgiveness, but in doing that, you're forgiving yourself as well, because you acknowledged it. You acknowledged it. You knew you messed up. You knew you should have done it better, but you're human. So let's embrace the human aspect of that. That's why we're here to experience all this. We're not here to be perfect.
So, I feel like I'm interviewing you. I'm sorry.
No, nobody. We're just talking. We're not interviewing anybody.
So, one thing that I do every morning, and I know you have some good information on this, before my feet hit the floor, I try to come up with several things that I'm grateful for, because I have found that it starts my day off I'm in the right frame of mind. My heart, it comes from my heart. And everybody can work on their heart chakra, let's face that.
Right.
And so before my feet hit the ground, I try to, think of all the things that I'm grateful for at that second, that minute.
Yep.
And this is something that I talk to my kids about, and, everyone that I come in contact with that needs this information is starting your day off and being in gratitude and service to others it's life changing.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. You know what? It's so amazing that you brought that up, being in service to others, because I did another little short live before this one. I just came on and gave a reading, and I sat with God and the angels, and I asked, "What's our message?" And God and the angels replied, "We are all in service." Okay, and as we go about our day, do things with a generous heart, and be compassionate, because you never know what somebody else is going through. Because
Absolutely.
here we are, we're looking good, we're doing our best, we're having a great conversation, but I don't know by looking at you what you're experiencing in your personal life, and you don't know looking at me what I've been experiencing in mine. So just keep that in mind with every person you come in contact with. That's what I would like to say is so important. And to make sure that even if people are difficult, wish them well. Wish them well.
That's great advice right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
I used to get road rage. Not real bad, but I'd be like cussing, or whatever. And now I'm like, it is what it is.
Yep, yep. Well, if you can conquer road rage, you can conquer anything. Because sometimes, I'm going to be honest, I get triggered by idiots. And of
Sure, we're all human,
course,
and
we're
it
never the
happens.
idiot, right? We're never the
Yeah.
idiot.
I mean, I drove to Oklahoma City and back today. I was in a lot of traffic, and it was bumper to bumper and stopped, and yeah. So I
Yeah.
just we're all human. I mean, I just let it go.
Yeah.
No,
That made me think of a story. I want you to share a story since we got on the topic of, mastering our feelings, mastering our thoughts, our emotions. I want you to share that story about how when you were driving to the city and there was a lot of traffic. And do you remember, the story I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
your husband was with you. What did you do?
So we were headed to a football game, and it was a long ways, a couple hours drive, and we were in stopped bumper to bumper traffic, and my husband, he's just getting madder by the minute and just cussing and like just in a foul mood.
Hmm.
And so of course I sent him a lift, and but anyways, I asked him if he wanted me, I told him, I said I should have thought to ask my guides and angels to clear the path.
Hmm.
And he's like, you can do that? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, let's see what you got. And
Uh-huh.
this was early on, but I was, not
This
real open
this
with
was
him about
real
everything.
early. Yeah, this was real
Yeah,
early on in our journey. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And I was just afraid he was going to think I was crazy or something. So I wasn't sharing a whole lot with him. But anyways, he said, yeah, well, let's see what you got. So I asked the angels and my guides, and all of a sudden our lane started moving. And there was like 4 or 5 lanes of traffic, and everybody was stopped, and we start creeping along, and then it gets a little faster. And he's like, yeah, I don't know if I believe all that. And I was like, well, I could always ask him to stop. And he was like, no, don't do that. So yeah, I mean, anytime I go out, I ask for, for them to watch over me, to clear the path, to make sure that I do my business and get home safely, and also help me find a parking spot. And it works every time.
It does. It's amazing. And I always say, one of my favorite expressions is intention is everything. So when we set the intention and we do it with, you know, a clear voice and a clear heart and a clear mind in that perfect, pure intention, I can't even say like, it happens. And honest to God, like when it does, sometimes I still am amazed.
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like instant manifestation, It's instant. You're like, people will be like, what? That you never get a parking place in this at this time of day here. And just so
And I always say thank you
you
from
too.
the beginning, because I'm like, thank you for that parking spot you're going to help me get.
Yep.
And because I don't want to forget to say how grateful and thankful and blessed I am by my
Right.
guides.
Right.
So, sometimes I do, because I'm human, but whenever I think about it, I'm like, I forgot to say thank you for such and such or whatever, and
Right.
I just let them know that I'm so grateful, and for their guidance and assistance.
Yep. And I'm just like you, the practice of gratitude. I really, ever since I really started to do mindfulness and mindfulness meditation, all through the pandemic and even a little bit before that, really, I retrained my brain to focus on the positive. So you have the attitude of gratitude. So when I wake up, I'm like, oh gosh, another day, hello God, what are we doing today? Angels, universe, this is going to be a good day. And you wake up with that energy. And even if you don't feel well, you've still acknowledged that you still have breath in your body. You still, the sun still came up and you were, chosen to be here another day. So make the best of it no matter what.
Yeah, and that just that um being mindful of being in gratitude, all of those things just start your day off so much better. Used to, if I was late for work, man, that started my day off on a
Oh, yeah.
spiral down.
Yep.
And it could just go from bad to worse until I came home and I'm like ready to scream at my kids or something.
Right.
Not because I was a bad person, just I had a lot going on.
Mhm.
But whenever I realized, hey, if I just start my day off a little better in the morning, it goes well for everybody. I get my kids off happy. I'm
Right.
happy.
Right. Don't you wish like you could tell your younger self not to worry about things so much? Don't stress out so much about that. Everything's just going to work out. It's going to be okay, but we don't know that when we're right in the thick of it. We just don't know. And so
Right.
I feel like if we could all just acknowledge that we're just here to experience life and nothing is going to be perfect all of the time. And if you just say, okay, so, I'm late for work. Oh, well, it happens. I'm just going to say to whoever, I'm sorry I'm late. Give me a few minutes just to get myself together, and then pass your energy maybe on to somebody else, go in your office, whatever, take a few deep breaths, get your coffee, and just say, okay, I'm going to restart my day. I'm here, I'm safe, I'm good, something like that. Just
Well,
not stay in that energy, right, the whole day.
right.
It's like this
Right.
mushroom effect that just the cloud just keeps expanding if you don't stop it like in its tracks.
So one thing that I do, and we talked about this before we started the video,
Mm-hmm.
is I use Ho'oponopono, and that is a Hawaiian healing method that is very simple, so simple to use, and I use it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, there's a prayer that goes with it, and it's more, to me, it's more like an affirmation
Yeah.
than a prayer, but it's something like I'm sorry, please forgive me,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do it in a little different order.
Mm-hmm.
I let myself know I love myself. So from the start, so I say I love you. Um, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so powerful, and so like if I get triggered by something that I thought I had let go of in the past, my shadow self, if something comes up, or if I, call someone a name while I'm driving, whatever, I can use this Ho'oponopono to, send forgiveness to myself, to
Yep.
ask for forgiveness. It's basically a forgiveness and reconciliation method, and it's called Ho'oponopono.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. And Cherokee Light Sky says, that's beautiful, Cindy. And I think it's beautiful too. Um, I feel
Hi,
like,
Lisa.
however it feels native and comfortable to your spirit is what you should do. And it's so awesome that you said that you tell yourself I love you, because that's the next thing you should do after you wake up and you're in gratitude and you say thank you God, thank you universe, thank you angels for another day. I'm so grateful to be alive. Help me to have the best day. And then when you get up and you look at yourself in the mirror, you should say hello. I'll say, hello, Melissa, I love you. You can tell
Oh,
yourself that you love yourself. You're supposed to do that. And it's not narcissistic. It's what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to love ourselves in a very pure way, because if we don't, we really can't give that love that we have that's extra and overflowing to other people, because we haven't given it to ourselves. And we're the only ones that can do it for us, because if you don't learn how to fill yourself up with that love that you need, you can't expect anybody else in this world to do that for you. Sure, people love you, but it's not their job to fill you up. You're supposed to fill yourself up
I
first.
love this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
we didn't
awesome.
learn that. We weren't taught that. We were taught, well, I don't know about you. I mean, I was taught, the big expression was little girls should be seen and not heard. And it wasn't even that anybody was mean in saying that, or if my dad said that. My dad would say it like little kids should be seen and not heard or whatever. And that was what they grew up with. They didn't know any better. you know? And I feel like that we need to give them grace because in their ancestors before them and before them and before them, because think of what they never had the time to stop and send love and healing to. I feel like
Right.
I feel
Nor
like
did they know they should.
yep, yep,
You know, my folks both came from families that didn't say I love you or hug much.
yep,
So I didn't get a lot of that kind of affection growing up. And but I made sure to give it to my kids and my grandkids,
yep.
and even my folks now. They are regular about saying it because I said it to them. You know, I just kind of forced them into acknowledging that, hey, they really do love me.
Mhm. Yep, yep. And it's hard because they were taught to be tough, to be strong, to not show your emotions, to keep going. And I feel, I just want to mention this, that I feel like that's part of our generation's mission to, we have a lot of wisdom right now. And so with this wisdom, we're being called to send that love and that light back over our ancestors and the past timelines that they had to live that were very difficult. I mean, just think of the hardships they had. I mean, I think of
Yeah.
the tigers and the ticks and the snakes and all of that here. Can you imagine being outside with all of that all of the time? Oh, in the heat, forget it. I wouldn't even be here right now.
No, yeah, I
Yeah.
my ancestors lived a difficult life.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So when you were talking about the saying I love you, I love everybody, and I don't mind telling you that I love you.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I am. If I
Yeah.
tell you I love you, I mean it.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too. I mean it too. And we
Right.
should tell people we love them,
Yeah.
and appreciate them. If you tell somebody, thank you, I appreciate that so much, or I appreciate you, it changes. When people tell me that, it changes my day. It changes
Yeah,
the world,
sure.
you know?
And that's a part of the spiritual life, I feel like, is to be in service.
Mhm.
Being in service means being kind
Yeah.
to someone.
Right.
I mean, that's the least we can do is smile and be kind
Mhm.
to others.
Yep.
So I feel like that is a part of that is does mean you're in service to others if you're being nice and kind and thoughtful and
Mhm.
all that. You are in service. You might not be, asking God to give you a opportunity every day. I mean, I try to remember to ask for an opportunity every day to be a blessing to someone.
Mhm.
You may not be doing that, but if you're being kind and nice and you're sincere, you are in service to others.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line.
Yep. Absolutely. And there again, I mean, it's not about being an angel. It's not about being perfect. It is about just being the best, most authentic version of yourself,
Of you, yeah.
and take that out with you every day. And,
Yep.
and even in the moments when you're not being the best version of yourself, just be real about it and say, "Oh gosh, like, sorry, I lost my you know what, I lost my shiz today. I'm sorry if it kind of spilled out on you. I won't happen again." Acknowledge. If people would just acknowledge some of the things that they do to the people that are with them and around them every day, I feel like the world would be such a more peaceful and happier place. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and we said this earlier, words matter. So if you're constantly down on yourself or you're constantly negative,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you got 10 pounds you need to lose, which we all do basically.
Right.
And you're so negative about losing the weight, you're never going to lose that 10 pounds. You might
No.
as well eat, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You tell yourself that enough and your body believes it.
Right.
So why not start off with, thank you for the 10 pounds that's coming off, and just,
Mhm. Right. And just thank you.
I'm proud of you. And
Yeah, or just be thankful that you're healthy because you and I both throughout our lives have had a lot of health issues.
yes,
And we've experienced some exit points in our lives, and we're still here. And so I try to think of those moments when I feel those feelings like, oh gosh, I can't believe I ate that cookie, and I'm not supposed to even eat cookies, and I'm not eating sugar, but I went somewhere and I ate a cookie. Who cares? Maybe I needed a cookie today. Okay.
There's that grace.
Right. Who cares? Like it is what it is. And I'm not going to waste any time or lose any sleep over that. I'm just going to keep moving forward. And tomorrow's a new day. And this is a new moment. Not even a new day. Like every moment that we're breathing it's like we're just being born again and again and again, because yesterday we have no control over, and we don't know what's coming tomorrow, but
Right.
we have this right now. And that's really all we have. And I wish people would just get a handle on that, this present moment.
I feel like that's one of the beginning steps of spirituality is learning how to love yourself and to find that heart space. You always hear on meditation, drop into your heart space.
Yep.
And at first I was like, well, how do you know you're in your heart space? For me, I just take a deep breath and I just am able to drop down in it. And if I feel my eyes starting to water up because I'm feeling that love, I know I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it is for you, but
yeah. Well, I can so relate to that. And so we both work with energy too. So not only do we sense that, but I will say to everybody that when you feel a tear or tears in your eyes, when you connect in with yourself, that's healing taking place. So you have connected in with that I call it the sacred heart. Like that is your sacred heart. Just like in the picture of Christ with the sacred heart, we all have that, there's a flame in there, eternal burning flame, I believe, and we just connect with that fire of love that we have, that we can, really feed in ourselves, but also share with other people, that eternal, Christ light, that flame, that love, or that spark of the divine, whatever resonates with people is right there in your heart to channel into and to channel out into the world,
Right. And I feel like no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, if you can get the dropping into your heart space, being in service, allowing yourself some grace, if you can get, then you can go to work on limiting beliefs and moving forward and all that other stuff. But I feel like this is the beginning of the journey that people need to spend time on.
Yeah.
And you talked about shadow work and just all the things that are going to make you more confident as a psychic in the long run, is getting this down first and then moving forward, because it when you learn new things, you're letting old stuff go, you're learning new things. You got to make room for that new stuff to come in. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I thought I had it turned off.
No, you're fine. I do that all the time. It's kind of like you can kind of imagine all of those old stories, all of those old programmings, all of those old ideas, and you can imagine like this like a plain bag or sack or anything, that you can put it all in, and then just imagine that you take it to the curb and it goes away and you never see it again, so you energetically let go of it. It's a good, anything that we can visualize that helps us know that and you can even like take a piece of paper and like rip little pieces and write down words that you no longer want in your life anymore, and you can actually put them like in a little stage burner. Like I have this little thing right here, and you can take them outside and you can actually like burn them and they're gone. You can do that. Like there's so many things that you can release all of those things that no longer serve your highest and best good anymore. And I wanted to say, and I want you to talk about this, we were talking about how not only should we have good talk, inner dialogue, but when we're with other people, we should always be mindful not to talk about other people, because our words are really like spells and they weave this bad energy. Even if you're not really intentionally trying to cause that person harm, that when we do say negative things about people, it does affect other dimensions that we don't see. So we're here, and then there's dimensions up into heaven where we will all go, and there's aspects of ourselves in these dimensions, and we get beat up. And so we don't want to, we have enough beating us up here. We should really be mindful about the things that we say. What do you think?
Oh, yes, I totally agree. And I'm not one for gossip. I mean, somebody will say, "Hey, did you hear about so and so?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
Because that's not how my mind works. I'm not out looking for that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I'm not narcissistic or anything, I mean, I'm from the live and let live
Yeah.
ideology. And so my mind doesn't work that way. And when that happens and I'm in the presence of someone where that is happening, I just say, well, maybe they were having a bad day, or,
Yes.
well, I try not to dwell on
Mhm.
that information. And, I mean, that's the best thing. And,
Yeah.
but we've all been around those types of people that
Yeah. I think a good way to handle that, if some people listening to this, broadcast now or maybe in the future, is to be mindful of that. So when you're with people, be mindful of how they talk about people, and if you can. And I did this from a very young age. Like, I always would stick up for the underdog. Remember, as a kid, like, they would pick on somebody, and I would just.
I'm still that way.
Me too. And I never wanted anybody to feel bad. So I would like,
Mm-mm.
why are you treating that person like that? You don't have to say that, but I mean, that's what I said when I was younger. You could say, well, I understand how you could feel that way, but did you ever think that maybe so and so might be going through this, and maybe we should care for them, or send them as much love and light, because they probably need it right now.
And even before I realized I was spiritual and all, and went on started on this journey, if my kids came home and would say, so and so, I don't like being around them. They did this, they did that, and I would tell them then, hey, you don't know what their home life is like.
Yeah.
Maybe they're facing something way tougher than you are.
Right.
So give them, the benefit of the doubt, as in allow them some grace.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been that way my whole life.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come hard for me to
Right.
to follow that
Mhm.
path.
Yeah. And I feel like some people might be brought up that way. So we learn by the people around us. And so if you grew up with people that were like that, maybe negative, or always looking for something wrong, or, like they would talk negatively about somebody to make themselves feel better, but they didn't realize that's what they were doing. So in other words, always be in a place of neutrality. So in other words, you're not really judging, but
Right.
you're observing, and we should be in a position, in being of service, to think, what can I do to make this situation better?
And when I screw up, sometimes I'm just, oh Lord, please help me.
Yeah.
Help me to be kinder, remember to be kind, help me to, smile.
Yeah.
And I ask for little reminders sometimes, or like kick me. Do
Yeah.
you remember when we first started, I would have like the angels tap my
Mhm.
foot for confirmation.
Yep.
Wow, that was so cool. And I don't have to do that anymore, but
Mhm.
that's how I would find out, yeah, I'm headed down the right path sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I would ask, and then I would feel that tap, tap, tap.
Yep. That was awesome. That was awesome. I don't know. I think I love how everybody has their own way of getting the information that they need. So that we set our own intentions, our own way to get the signs, the synchronicities. So yeah, we all work differently, and it's just so beautiful. Like when somebody sends you a message at the end, you're not going to believe what happened. And it just, it like helps you to know that your messages that you're receiving are so real and true too.
Right.
Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to ask you is, um, how then, if there's really something like, people that have had the dark night of the soul where they're, confronting all the really deep, dark parts of themselves. Everybody experiences some of this. And I
Right.
did early on because I wanted to work on it.
Right.
Because I did have some deep rooted hurt and pain.
Right.
And I wanted to release it. And so how do we, like, okay, let's say a relationship that you're no longer in, but there's still that energy and you still keep thinking about, what's the worst that happened during that? And you
Right.
come up with it and it's so painful for you, but how do you let that go? And how do you kind of clear that so you can get past that?
I feel like the best thing we could do, and I've done this, and it happens a lot. Like you can just say, "I lovingly send so and so's energy back to them, and
Perfect.
lovingly call my energy back to me." And if you find that your thoughts drift to a scenario with that person or a situation, and you find yourself living that again in your thoughts, you can then do what we were talking about before this broadcast about cutting the cords, ties, webs, and connections. Because sometimes, even if we set that intention that we're sending the energy back and we're calling our energy back to us, people still think about us and those little cords get attached to us again, you know?
Right. If it keeps coming up in your daily thoughts and in your heart, you you still have a tie to that. So how do we get rid of that energetic tie then, or
Yeah.
cord or whatever?
Okay, so for me, I ask for a spiritual gift, and we're all able to get spiritual gifts. And for me, it's a sword. So I will just imagine it's kind of like Archangel Michael's sword. And I will just say, Archangel Michael, would you please help me to cut the cords, ties, webs, and connections to whoever it is? And then you can actually imagine like that person in front of you energetically, and you just clear them. And then you imagine yourself energetically, you clear yourself, and then you say thank you. And then you know that all of those cords, ties, webs, and connections are cut. That's how I do it. I know you have a different method.
Yeah, I have. I use a knife, and I stand in front of them or behind them. Sometimes it's at the hip, where
Hmm.
we have this attachment,
Hmm.
and I stand and face them if I can, and I just physically make the motion and
Hmm.
the intention that I am cutting this cord now and forever.
Hmm. Yep. Some people use scissors. We talked about
Yep.
that. Like a lot of people will use scissors. So you can imagine, energetic scissors. We're not talking about real swords and real knives here. We're talking about spiritual knives and spiritual swords that actually, like a spiritual gift that is sharp and can cut the cords, the ties,
And
web connections.
I
So,
usually ask Archangel Michael to cut them from north to south, east to west,
mhm.
so there's no cord remaining
Yep.
between myself and this person or whoever I'm asking on behalf of.
Yep. And I think we should tell people that are listening that if you feel somebody, if you think of somebody, it's always a two-way street. So our consciousness is connected. We are like people don't realize it. I wish people would realize like how tightly entwined and connected we all are. The people that we know, the people that we interact with. And so when our thoughts go to that person, there's a reason for it. Like say you're thinking about somebody like 2 or 3 times in a day and you're not looking to cut the cords, ties, webs, and connections. There's something that they need. So at that moment, they keep coming in and say, okay, what is it that I need to do for this person? And just sit with that quietly and see what the answer is from, God, your angels, the universe. It's so important.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. One time, this was probably like in 2006 or something. All day long, I was thinking of this family childhood friend that I'd known, forever, and I hadn't seen him in forever.
Hmm.
And I was thinking about him. He was on my mind all day long. And that evening, his sister called me and told me that he had passed away.
Yep.
So I know now he was trying to. He needed me, and I didn't know, how. I wasn't. I didn't know how to address it, what to do. But I wish I had said to myself, "Hey, what do I need to do here?
Right.
You know, what's necessary."
Right. And that's so beautiful, that's just we weren't taught how to do these things, but more and more as we go on as a human collective, we're gonna learn that these are the things that we should have been taught. These are the things that we should be doing all of the time. And so um,
Right.
we didn't know. And growing up very religious, we weren't supposed to communicate with our ancestors that crossed over in spirit. Like we were taught, that's, you don't do that. There's taboo, there's things attached to that. When they're gone, they're gone. But you and I both know that that's really not the case. When our loved ones cross over, they're with us probably more than they were when they were alive. They have more time to be with us, but only energetically.
Yeah, but isn't that the truth? Because now when I walk in a room and there's 10 humans there, there might be 50 spirit there as well. And I wasn't paying attention before, but now I
Mhm.
see it. And it's like everybody carries spirit with them,
Yeah.
especially, like a mom or someone they were close to,
Yep.
or a dad, or maybe mom and dad,
Mhm.
grandparent.
Yep.
So sometimes there's like, 3 or 4 ancestors per person. So that makes, the room pretty full.
Definitely. Absolutely. And you know what else? I remember back in the early 2000s, I think it was about 2009, and I had a friend at church, and she was an older woman, and we actually met. I grew up Catholic, and you know that, but our listeners won't. So, but we actually were in adoration. I used to go to adoration. They put the Eucharist, and you just pray, and you sit, and now I'd call it meditating. But anyway, we met there. And we're not even supposed to talk there, but after about the third time, I could tell she was going to talk to me. Well, anyway, we became very close. And she passed away, and she never got married. She didn't have a family, but she was always doing beautiful things for people, like going to nursing homes and bringing food, and just she was in service. Like she lived the life of service. And anyway, when she passed away, I remember we went to the funeral, and my boys were still pretty young. And I remember sitting in the church, and there was a good amount of people there because a lot of people knew her from church. But at that time, I knew that church was full. I could feel the presence of so many angels, you know,
Sorry.
there was just ancestors and people, not just the people sitting there. Like I felt, and I remember saying to my mom when I went home, I'm like, that was a beautiful service, and that church was full of angels. And that was before I was into I've always been different, but like psychically, connected. But I just knew that there was so many angels there because I actually did, thinking back, I was seeing them clairvoyantly. I was feeling them, and as I go back to memory, I was actually seeing them. So, are you okay? I'll send you some clearing.
Yeah, there we go. Absolutely. I've used that myself
Yeah.
about the church being full of angels,
Yep.
and knowing, I mean, and we're both empaths. We feel all that emotion as well.
Mhm.
And not only do we feel that kind of energy, but we feel the angelic energy, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And healing. I mean, there are all types of different energy
Yeah.
that a person can feel, and
Right.
being able to recognize
Yes.
the differences.
Yeah.
That made it a lot easier when someone passed away for me,
Hmm.
is knowing what energy I was feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it's grief, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I can put that in the right place.
Hmm.
Um, and used to, I really dreaded going to a funeral, even though I went out of service to people a lot
Right.
of times. But now I can actually put that in the right spot
Hmm.
in my mind and body,
Right.
to where I can go on and function without, breaking down myself.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many stories that we could tell about all of this lovely energy, and how we've learned to understand it and feel it and know what it is. And we're going to do a whole other podcast together about understanding energy, and how it can be kind of overwhelming for people that don't understand, and a lot of people that are spiritual, like a lot of young children, like adolescents, they experience a lot of this spiritual energy, and they think that they have anxiety, or they might be depressed, and a lot of it is actually spiritual. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's one of my biggest like life missions right now, is to make people aware that we do feel energy. We do. Everybody does.
And we take on that energy when we don't know what kind of energy it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that, maybe sometime we could talk about for people just how to feel the energy of your guides and ancestors, feel the difference. And
Yeah. Everybody, and when you do meditate, you do call in guides, do make sure that you use your discernment, because you always want to make sure you've opened up to God, the angels. Those are the higher beings that I would recommend for people to really connect with when they start out on their journey. The angels will always be there. They're always there to guide us. The angels I'll always owe so much to all of the angels, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even be here right now. Really, that's the truth,
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Me too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about, like, let's say, your spirit guide, or your guardian angel.
Yeah.
How to discern the difference in that energy.
Yeah. It's kind of like, we'll just say it's kind of like interviewing them. So in other words, inviting them in and sitting in that and seeing how the energy shifts around you, and there is a
step closer, back up, step closer.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as you need to do that to feel that signature of that guide.
Right.
And you can use that same technique with angels. That's how I learned the difference in knowing, okay, wait a minute, Archangel Metatron's here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I associate him with color, smell, and feel the energy.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, totally. And I think we should just tell the people that watch this broadcast, if they're just starting out, like maybe tonight when you go to bed, lay in bed and connect into your heart and take some deep cleansing breaths, and ask your guardian angel to come close and just sit there, lay in that energy and just feel it, and say, if you don't feel anything, say, come closer, and just sit there and wait until you actually feel like a shift in the energy,
It could be a flutter in your heart. It could be a, just a breath of air on your arm. It could just lay quiet and wait for a sign.
Yes.
Of something.
Yep. It could even be like a word that comes in that you weren't thinking of, but it means a lot to you. It could be a lyric to a song. It could be so many things. So you could just lay and set the intention before you go to bed to just say, God, angels, could you please send my guardian angel close? I would like to feel your energy and know that you're with me, and just sit in that and see how it feels.
Yeah, that's awesome advice.
Yeah. And then maybe people can come back to this and tell us if they had any luck and if they felt in the energy or anything like that. It would be so cool.
Or suggestions on what you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of notes that we could, and things we can share. Melissa asked me what I'd like to talk about, and I gave her several ideas, and we kind of combined several things here to talk about, the allowing yourself some grace and forgiveness and that kind of thing. So if anybody has any ideas they want us to talk about.
Yeah.
leave us a comment.
Yeah, and like we said, like being in that state of gratitude, like I have an attitude of gratitude, you can start
I
the day
love
out
that.
like that.
Yeah, and if you're watching, would you please remember to like, if you like our what we talked about, remember to like and follow Reverend Melissa.
Yep. And Cindy will be here. You can join her group, Guided by Angels and Saints and Everything Spiritual, right, Cindy?
Yes.
Group, and we're
Yeah.
both in there. And Celestial Seven Heaven says, "Hi, Melissa and Cindy. I am new to your channel. One gift I ask God and Jesus is the gift of forgiveness, to forgive the people that hurt me." Yes, yes, absolutely. More people should do that.
Yeah, because, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just
No,
got to say this because for years, whenever I thought about forgiveness, I thought I had to, it was about the person that had hurt me. And it's not about that. It is about you totally. It
Mhm.
is you forgiving
Right.
that, the hurt that you felt.
Yeah.
It's all about you. You don't have to tell the person you forgave them.
No, you
That
don't.
doesn't even enter into the equation.
Yeah. And they might not even know that they hurt you, or they're not even thinking of you anymore. So the only person you're hurting by not forgiving
Is yourself.
is yourself. So that is the truth.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes. Thank you so much. Celestial Seven Heaven. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy and grateful that you are here. So
Thanks for letting us talk.
yeah.
Oh, wait, we have
Oh, wait,
another one.
let's
Can
see.
you bring there we go.
Okay, from my subconscious. Okay, yeah. Cherokee Light Sky says, "My biggest issue is knowing it is something from my subconscious or truly from my spirit guide and or my guardian angels." What do you say to that, Cindy?
I say, and I've told you this before, okay, but let me say it again. You have to trust what you get,
Mhm.
okay? Because it starts from the beginning. You just have to learn to trust, and eventually, because sometimes I would question, okay, is that me or is that coming from spirit? And I just finally had to start trusting everything I would get.
Yep.
So, what do you think, Melissa?
Oh, Cindy, I am so with you on that. Like, I remember the day it happened. Somebody had asked me something and I got the information and they weren't receiving it. Like, they weren't ready to receive it, but I shared it in the truest form in the way it came through. And I knew it was truth. And at that moment, I said to myself, never again will I doubt anything that comes through me because I've done this enough. I've trusted for myself. And I wouldn't be trying to help other people if I wasn't going to take that trust, that I got the right message for them. Because I'm going to say, Cherokee Light Sky, when you open up to love, you are only going to receive loving messages. And so just that alone should be enough to kind of set you free.
So in my case, I would say I would take a deep breath
Yep.
and I would say, okay, is that me or is that something else?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, you could do that if you're doubting,
Yeah.
and second guessing yourself. But
Yeah. Here's another thing. If it's not loving and it's not kind, something else has stepped in and you say, cancel, clear, delete that. You are
yep.
welcome here, and call in whatever angel to clear that energy and get back into the moment and get that guidance coming in again. So maybe that's why she's questioning. It could be something that didn't feel loving or kind or something that was for that person's highest and best good, right?
Yeah, and if you're talking about yourself, you can still discern what's for your best for your highest good.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, then
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And don't beat yourself up, Cherokee Light Sky. I mean, that's the thing, you just can't beat yourself up over anything. So yeah, it's
When it's something personal, and see, it's hard. Sometimes it's like me reading my dog.
Yeah.
Melissa does a far better job of reading my dog than I do. So sometimes when we're critical of our own skills or gifts, and just allow yourself some grace and accept what you get.
Yeah.
Usually, the first thing that comes in for me is the right thing too. And I find that if I withhold information, it's usually information that would have been helpful to the person I should have given it to.
Yes, yes.
Even though it's a bag of peanuts, and I'm like, where'd that come from?
Right, right.
It's meaningful to the person that you're reading.
Yes.
So you have to give all, you can say, can you place anything to do with a bag of peanuts? Is there,
Yep.
just, you don't have to say, I'm seeing a bag of peanuts and I don't know what it means.
Right, right.
You know.
I love it. I love those random things. They make the reading so much fun. And I love people when they say, oh my gosh, like I was saying earlier, like my guides will work with me with music and songs, and their people will give me a song and they'll be like, that was what we sang the day we went to, I can't believe that you just said that. Well, that wasn't me. That's your loved one telling me that was that song that they gave me for you. There's no way I can know that unless they were here. So now you know that they are truly here.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's beautiful.
It's funny. I learn something every time I'm around, you or other people that are teachers. You're just a born teacher. You're teaching me stuff tonight. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. No, you teach. No, I always say to everybody, I am forever a student and I am forever a teacher. I've always felt that way about life. I think that's cool, isn't it? To think that way. Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to, Gail has something. Let's see what Gail has to say. Gail, first time on, love it. Thank you all for being you. Love, light, and blessings to all. Have an amazingly awesome and blessed week and weekend. Thank you for joining us, Gail. And I just want to say before we end, I just want to thank everybody in the future that watches this. And thank you to everybody that was here tonight. And I'm being called, and Cindy, you can do this with me. I'm feeling some heaviness in my heart right now. And when I feel it, I have to clear it. So there's somebody now and possibly in the future, and we're going to send all of our love and light and our healing energy to their heart. And we ask that the angels, God, the universe, release anything that they have trapped inside of their hearts that is not allowing them to live their best life in these now moments. So we thank you, God, angels, universe. Thank you for this love and this clearing. And as I say this, I feel it lift and I'm filled with so much warmth. So I know whoever needs this will feel it.
Yeah, I felt it lift too.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Cindy, before we close?
Yeah, just blessings to everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. That's my dog sneezing. Sending you infinite love, light, blessings of all kinds. Until next time, take care. Bye.
Bye.